In this video, we'll see me, a BJJ blue belt turned judo white belt, take an entire judo technique class from start to finish, with Sensei Chuck Jefferson teaching the throw of kings and queens, the Uchi Mata.
Follow Uchi Mata. You see this kid kind of wrap around, lean lift.
We'll get his full instruction and demonstrations of things like posture concepts, various drills, how to enter the throw, how to maintain balance, and how to execute the throw in several different ways, including a foot sweep combination. And we'll see some students test themselves in front of the entire class. Will I finally be able to figure out the Uchi Mata? And how will my recurring AC joint injury factor in here? Stick around to find out. My name's Josh, and with 64 jiu-jitsu competitions under my belt, I'm eager to improve my stand-up after a lot of guard pulling. And I've come to the right place. CJ Judo here in San Jose, California, run by Sensei Chuck Jefferson, a lifelong judoka and multiple-time national champ and Pan Am's champ, among other things. I'm still at the beginning of my judo journey, and if you saw the previous episode, you'll know that I've only done one sparring or randori class and just a handful of technique classes. In that sparring class, Sensei Chuck actually hit me with his Uchi Mata on both sides, so I'm eager to finally learn how to do it myself. The class started off with the usual warm-ups, led this time by Sela, a talented young brown belt and wrestler, who I had the opportunity to spar with at a judo open mat before I officially joined CJ Judo.
I'm 15.
And I was hoping to maybe learn a thing or two from him during class as well. Although I was pretty confident with the warm-ups, I had no idea what to expect for the rest of class. And my AC joint was starting to bug me a little bit. And that's when we dove into Sensei Chuck's first Uchi Mata drill.
So we're gonna work on Uchi Mata today, and we'll start off with a few basic warm-ups. So when we do Uchi Mata, a lot of people's misconception, we're just trying to lift our leg, we're gonna use our hip. So when we pull, I wanna have our hands up like chin level or mouth level, and I'm gonna lean forward and bring my leg up. Okay, this is kind of what we're doing when we attack Uchi Mata. So I don't wanna see you lift your leg and then bend your body. So we wanna try to think of your chin being tied to your toe. As your toe goes up, your chin comes down, and that's the lifting power. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to keep some, not flexibility. I don't want to see this flopping around. So a slight bend, but nice and tight. And then I'm going to hop forward. So we'll come here. I'm going to lean forward, try to find my balance. And I'm just going to hop across the dojo here, straight across. That's it. I don't want to see your back curled. Keep your back rigid and straight. Head is kind of in line with your body, looking toward your wristwatch or your pulling hand right here. And then we're going to hop forward and try to find your balance. Okay, and we're going to hop this direction. All right, let's go.
This was actually kind of difficult, and I didn't know the correct arm positioning.
The big toe, this way. All right, give it a shot. Keep your toe pointed, slight bend in your leg, because we're gonna be hopping toward our pinky toe, which is where most people end up losing their balance, go in this direction, because we don't have any strong toes that way. Okay, don't let your hip come up too high to send you back. So keep your hip kind of forward. So as you rotate, my hip is almost flat forward, it's gonna be open, and then the rotation power is there. All right, don't let your hip fall too far back to where it loses your balance this way.
Hopping on the way back was slightly easier. I was starting to get the hang of it.
With Uchi Mata is curling forward. Like if you do a Seoi Nagi, you close this way, we don't want to do that with Uchi Mata. So we're going to open up, we're going to expand our body. So we're opening. Here, my chest is open, and I lift and then rotate. But I don't want to see this shape. Okay, this is the bad shape for Uchi Mata. Okay, so I want my chest up, leg up, and then you can hop whatever direction you need to hop. But don't let your back curl like this. Okay, I told the kids don't get in the video game position where we're kind of slouching, okay? So you don't want to slouch and fold. Keep it open, okay? So we're going to do a little exercises for fun. I use Sela. So I'm not going to try to push him off balance, but I'm going to have him get in perfect position just by yourself. And we're going to work on a little bit of balance. So he's going to find his spot. And I'm just going to give him little tiny touches. It doesn't take much for people to have to recorrect. So you find that little balance. That's it. Okay, so like 10, 15 seconds, you're gonna get tired even if you're perfect. You're gonna get tired doing that. So just try it 10 or 15 seconds. Don't shove your partner, but just give them a little bit of a tap so they have to kind of readjust and recalibrate their muscles to hold that balance. Okay, find a partner and give it a shot.
Now it was time for the partner drills. I looked around unsure of who to ask when out of nowhere Sensei Chuck paired me up with the one and only Sela. The first drill was a lot harder than I expected, although I did feel like I had a leg up, no pun intended, since we do an exercise at my strength gym called a single leg deadlift, which has similar mechanics. I was surprised that Sela was actually kind of having a hard time too, but he said the actual throw is a lot easier than just trying to hold this position, especially with somebody pushing you.
Okay, everybody stop and watch over here. Okay, this is very nice positioning. Notice he's almost a T, right? His hip is open just a little bit. When he decides to finish the throw, he'll rotate that hip, but this is super good positioning for launching to create the power to open somebody up, okay? Very good job, okay? A couple more minutes. Pulling hand out. This is like you got somebody kind of by a headlock in his hand.
I was finally feeling more balanced, but starting to get kind of worn out, and that's when Chuck moved into the next part of class.
So you're transferring the weight from your body to the floor, and that's where that power is going to come out right here. So we find that position on there, and we raise it up, but we got to have that power. So we'll keep it nice and slow. Sela, can I use you? So let's see here. I'm going to have Sela just give me a perfectly wide stance. My grip up top, I don't care so much about. I don't like to have it down here. Some people have very flexible shoulders where they can do everything from down here. I'm going to take a collar grip up top, or even just Sudi Ghosh grip. First step is going to go straight to the center. So what I want to see is this position right here. My first foot, I don't care about so much. I don't care where it goes. I'm going to have him give me this easy grip for now. So I can feel right here, almost by my chin. This hand can be anywhere. My second step is the most important. So I'm going to turn my toe, and it's going to be pretty much centered here. Now I have this slight rotation of the hip, and then I lift up and lean forward. Okay, so don't worry about trying to hold people for too long. 1, 2, lean and lift. I lost my balance a little bit. So let's just practice this first part, finding this right here. Again, this first step doesn't really matter. I need somewhere for this step to be, which I want it in the center. Everything's connected. Here, rotate up. So I don't want your butt to come out this way. Your butt's going to stay inside. Look toward your pulling in, lean and lift.
I noticed that Sela's footwork was slightly different than Chuck's, but the Uchi Mata is one of Sela's best throws. I didn't actually know how to define an Uchi Mata, but it turns out I guess that the upper and lower body movements aren't quite as strictly step by step as I originally assumed they would be. As I tried it for the first time, I couldn't initially coordinate my upper and lower body to be as smooth and work in conjunction together like Sela could. It felt awkward just going straight into the throw from standing still. But after a few reps, I started to feel more comfortable. And that's when Chuck stepped in to help fix me.
So make us bring it a little closer. You can start to lean a little bit. So this first foot, like I said, I don't really care where it goes. If it's too close here, then this one won't be the first. You were a little far here with this foot. Once I got it launched, you have to really lean. So I just bring it in just enough to where I can lean toward it. So instead of lifting him heavy, I just pull him and put all my weight over here. Okay. There you go.
After his pro tip of moving my foot in closer, I finally hit my first thing that somewhat slightly resembled an Uchi Mata. And then it was back to Sela. I noticed that he had a lot of upper body connection, so I tried to focus on that as well, but it was still kind of awkward. When finally I entered in comfortably and threw him for the first time without losing my balance. I still still wasn't off balancing him though enough properly and getting the right upper body connection, this important concept known as kazushi. So he walked me through that some more. And then next, Chuck explained he wanted us to just focus on lifting and balancing, which Sela and I were already kind of doing.
You actually lean to lift and set him back down almost in the same place. So see if you can find that level of control. Okay, go for it.
This was basically like the drill at the beginning when we had to hold the position and push each other, but this time we were just slowly lifting our partner's body weight and then setting them back down. I was struggling to move my body as one unit while lifting him up slowly and setting him back down. So Sela demonstrated that for me again, and it started to become a little bit more smooth.
So with anything, when we do new techniques, we want to try to find ways to self-correct. There's a couple of small things that you can think about. One is your toes. If you start to lift somebody up and your big toes are in the air, you're weak to the back. It's that simple, right? That means all of your weight is on your heel and you're struggling to lift them up. That means if somebody wants to, they can probably, uranagi or taniotosh or something. So you want to make sure when you lean forward, the ball of your foot is driving into the floor. I never want to lift someone here and my toes come up. So if your toes come up, you don't have enough kazushi to the front. Okay, that's the big one. The other one is your rotation. If you start to collapse toward your support pinky toe, that's the other one that's super common, right? So we're going to come in here, lift them up, and I start to fall here. Okay, that's super common as well. Couple of things. A little bit more pull this way and a little bit more rotation. And then you can find that balance, right? If your hip is open too much, my shoulder is taking me that direction. Okay, so can I use you guys alone? Can you come on out? We'll see if we can put you in a couple of these positions. Bring your partner. So go ahead and get in position and freeze. Let's see what happens. Okay, so who can tell me what could use a slight adjustment? So his support foot went beyond center, which is why he fell off towards his pinky toe. Okay, try it again. Okay, better. So if you lose your balance this direction or to the front, you're usually going to be safe. If you lose your balance to the back side, somebody's probably taking you back that way. So a couple of small things. Again, once we get here, this small rotation is huge. This right here, when you attack, so I come in hip to hip. After I make this adjustment, it's this right here. This is what some people are missing, this small thing. Jackie, I think this is what you were here, and then you tried to lift. But this changes things when I switch my hip there. Now my butt is directly toward him. Everything's attached here. Now instead of lifting, I lean. I'm going to pull him toward my support leg. And it's way easier to lift up. So you don't have to lift up. You pull him onto you. Okay, but this small rotation here, and then pivot with the feet. Pivot with the feet. So your support foot is facing the direction of the throw, and you're lifting with the whole hip.
After Chuck gave us those tips, I really tried to focus on more upper body connection and my foot placement so I could keep my balance better as I lifted Sela. Sela continued with his slightly different foot placement, and then he also wanted to show me a different upper body grip. This is the hardest grip?
Yeah, hardest to do it, like traditional Japanese grip. This is like the most basic one, but it's the hardest. And I'm doing the 10 times easier grip.
My upper body attachment was finally starting to feel more comfortable when Chuck called us in for the next drill.
With the proper timing, with movement, it actually makes more sense, and sometimes it's actually easier to do than what you just tried to do standing still. So, so this time I'm going to start to walk backwards. I'll go slow, but I'm going to try to do the same thing where I leave my right foot back and I latch him on here. As we're moving, I'm not going to take this big round step that you do in a traditional Uchi Mata. Right, this is how we do almost all of our forward throws. You see this big kind of wraparound, harai gosh or something. So this time I'm going to still get to that same thing we just worked on. I'm going to pull him on here. Okay? So as we're moving, I don't have to go as deep with this anymore. I pull him onto me. So as we're walking, here. See if you can walk backwards and find the same positioning. Nope. Josiah, what did you do wrong? He pulled his foot all the way around. So Sela, see if you can come up here. Stop it away here. Okay. Pull him onto you. There it is. A little more rotation. Yeah. Okay, that was beautiful. Slightly different. Problem with Sela is he's already good at Uchi Mata. So he has his version that he's already done thousands and thousands of times. So the cool thing is there are lots of different ways to make the Uchi Mata work. This is just the way that I feel like I've found a successful way to kind of maybe bringing people to Uchi Mata for the first time, people that haven't had the success of your traditional, entry that you normally learn. So that's option 2. The same thing with backwards motion. Now eventually what you're going to do for the standard entry, the normal entry for Uchi Mata, 1, 2, 3, right? Or the version that we just practiced where it's here, but we still have to go quicker to replace my front foot with my back foot. So it's here, 1, quickly 2. Okay, so we kind of create that power where we're hitting our left foot to create that power on the floor. So I step deep, and then I quickly replace it. Deep. To create power to push up. Okay, so if you guys want to play with this a little bit, here, quickly, go to that. Here, quickly, power. All right, so just add a little bit of speed, hit the floor hard with your support foot. All right?
I was really excited for this one since it would incorporate actual movement. And maybe I wouldn't feel as awkward as I was when I was trying to execute the throw from just a static position. Sela started us off and I paid close attention to how he moved. Now it was my turn, but I started off just by lifting him. And as I suspected, incorporating movement made this a lot easier. And then finally, I hit my first Uchi Mata. I had to roll through though because I lost my balance going forward, but I was determined to hit this while staying still and keeping my balance. I was almost there, but it was Sela's turn again. And then finally, I hit the Uchi Mata without losing my balance at all, ending up in the exact static position that we'd been practicing the entire class. I think I had done it. It kind of looked like an Uchi Mata. Next, Sela wanted to try his varied grip on the front of the lapel, the old school grip.
The older school grip here.
I actually got hurt doing this stuff.
Are we gonna do it like this? We're gonna go. We're doing it? Alright, alright.
And that's when I hit the ground in a slightly wrong way and felt a jolt in my AC joint.
No upper body contact. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine.
Now, I want to be clear, this was not Sela's fault at all. This was my own doing from deciding to train on an injured shoulder. And I think it's important to include in this video since it's an honest part of training BJJ and Judo. And we can all learn from this. It was difficult to throw now without worrying about my shoulder, and I felt bad taking away training from Sela. But we still were able to practice just lifting each other without finishing the throws. So thank you very much to Sela for being a great training partner. And then we moved into the final combination.
So we're gonna go with the Koichigari. We'll set it up like a righty-righty. So we'll have extreme righty-righty. Okay, so if our front feet are close together, I just need to take a back step. I'm gonna touch it and follow. Okay, so as he steps, I go with him. Follow. Uchi Mata. Righty-righty. Touch as he steps away. Go with it. And then shoot through the Uchi Matas. Okay, so the reason this works so well is because most people move when you step close to them. Doesn't even have to be a good koichi. if you simply step close to people, usually they move. If we're hanging out here, if I just go like that, that almost always happens. Okay, so back step, touch, follow. And now I'm right in that position that we've already worked on. Okay, because if I just shoot it with the angle here, it's easy to get Sukashi. So he's going to Sukashi me like if I miss here. Right. That happens with the righty versus righty. So the reason I'm doing the kochi is because I want to square him up a little bit. Here, follow. Now he's square. All right.
This one felt more like a dance, and the footwork was very precise. Ironically, this reminded me of how we fake foot sweeps in BJJ so that we can pull guard. But of course, since we're in judo class, we're going into a throw, not a guard pull. Earlier in his instruction, Chuck mentioned getting Sukashi. I had no idea what that meant, so he came over to explain.
If the target, I said a lot of guys don't even know what it is. It's called a Sukashi. When you kind of miss an Uchi Mata. So like, if we're righty-righty, that Uchi Mata is a super small target, right? It's easy for me to completely miss. So if I square him up, then my target is gigantic. I'm not gonna miss. Right? So we want to make it a square target. It happens both ways. Some people have like what they call like a slight, like a stretchy leg. So even if it's like righty versus lefty, like if he's standing here, a lot of people will like stretch that leg out to where and he pulls me over here.
Oh, and the same thing happens.
Right? So they get that flexible hip and they just let it go and then you slide off to the side. But if you have a square target, that doesn't happen.
I was starting to get much more comfortable with the footwork, although I was slightly disappointed that I couldn't finish any of the throws because of my shoulder. But I at least could still get something out of this and focus on my timing, lift, and balance.
Tell me what was wrong with that one.
After Sela and I went back and forth for a bit, we moved into the final portion of the class.
Let's do a little team critique. Anybody want to volunteer to get a little criticism from their teammates? I want even the beginners to see if they can find small improvements or things that might have went wrong. If anybody wants to volunteer to come out first. So which version do you want to work on? Alone, which one do you have a preference to of what we've done tonight?
Like the one that we did today.
Okay. Sela, do you see any areas of improvement?
It looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good?
Do it
I think it's pretty good.
That was perfectly on.
So we had a lot of good questions throughout tonight. One that just came up at the very end. And it's the way that I used to do it all the time is I would do the same exact thing with a hip grip. If you have somebody that's much taller than you, so I use Sela because he's like half a foot taller. So this worked well for me if I had like a tall lefty. I would always start with the standard grip, righty versus lefty, with my hand to the inside. And then I would sneak into the armpit. So everything else is the same, minus the grip is going to go under instead of over. Okay, so this works well if anybody's bigger than you and has a high grip. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to drop straight in there. Now I turn this there, and this one is way easier. Okay, so I'm pushing him away. When you push away, he squeezes harder. It happens every time. So I push, 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 and then when I release, he comes right onto my hip. Okay. So that's another version that you guys can work on if you ever have trouble with somebody either slightly taller or somebody that's coming with a high grip, leaving all this open. One more volunteer. Anybody? Okay, one more time. Follow the kochi, like almost like a sticker. Never put your right foot on the floor until you're attacking. Nice. Very good. Do one more time, get a little bit deeper hip. So sometimes you don't need the deep hip, especially if your partner's a little smaller. It's pretty easy to actually launch them without the deep hip. Okay, that's the Hanegoshi version.
I focus on that.
Okay. Who had a struggle with where the placement of their leg was going? Anybody struggle with that? So when I practiced, what was your issue? We're going shallow or deep?
I think too shallow.
Too shallow. So shallow becomes the problem to get Sukashi, meaning like you miss the attack when you aim shallow. Right? So when I was practicing Uchi Mata, I always aimed for Hanegoshi during my Uchikomi. So I got a really wide target. I would never shoot for this because some people could like sidestep that and make me miss. So I would shoot for here. So instead of shooting straight up the middle, I aim for the inside leg right here. And then when I get a nice stiff person, it ends up to be right in the middle anyways. So your leg placement can vary depending on how stiff your partner is and which way you're going. So if they're circling to their right, there's a good chance that you miss an Uchi Mata, right, and fall the other way. So in that case, you have to fire it into his leg. So if he's circling this way, I want to aim for that leg right there. And if he's moving, I probably won't hit it. Maybe I end up right in the middle anyways. Okay, so he's circling to the right. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Nice work, everybody. Let's line up. Today, Uchi Mata is the throw of kings and queens. And it is. These are all the these are the best highlights to watch, in my opinion. It's the ones I like the most. But if you watch an Uchi Mata person, in my opinion, it's pretty low risk, minus the few times that you get Sukashi. If Uchi Mata is your favorite throw, there will be a time that you miss a tournament. It's going to happen. Right? You got to get that feel of a little bit of failure so you know what kind of corrections to make. But after you get used to that, it's a very low-risk throw that you can attack. When you miss, you're still on your feet, and it puts a lot of fear into a lot of people that don't like that type of judo. So, super fun to play with. But good job tonight.
Let's get it.
And with that, class was over. I walked away with a mind full of lots of new information. Excited for the future to continue practicing and implementing this throw, and very thankful to Sensei Chuck, Sela, and all my other teammates and training partners over at CJ Judo. If you liked this video, you might also like the previous episode where I took you guys through a full sparring or randori session at CJ Judo. And I even got to face Sensei Chuck himself where he hit me with his Uchi Mata. Thanks for watching.